Hello there, my name's Annette with Sunbeam Fabric Art. Welcome to my channel. Today we're working on another layer cake project. I have a lot of artisan batik layer cakes. Right now I'm taking a look at lights and darks. I've got a lot of layer cake projects planned, so sorting these out into lights, mediums, and darks is going to help me out in the long run. For today's project, I'm not using all of these, but I did want to get them sorted out. If you've been following my channel for a while, you know a lot of times I will write down an idea on a sticky note. Today's idea is right here on this sticky note. The block I'm planning will have 4 different colors, so I'm grabbing a light, a medium, and 2 darks for each set of 4. The leftover batik squares are going back in my stash, but I do plan to use those up very soon. Now, stacking up 4 of my squares that are different, the 1 light, the 1 medium, the 2 darks, I'm using my little sticky note as a plan to cut these layer cakes. Now I'm going to be cutting all 4 the exact same way, and then I get to play mix and match with the colors. I'm using a white chalk pencil, which sort of shows up on this video, to draw out my little plan that has a triangle in the center, which is part 1, then the next section is part 2, then 3, and then 4. We will be cutting 3 lines on the chalk lines that I drew, and then I will be mixing and matching and stitching these back together in the correct order. For this next group, I stacked 8 of these batik squares. I thought my rotary blade was up to the challenge of cutting through 8 layers, but do whatever you feel comfortable with. The important thing to remember is if you're cutting into 4 pieces, you need to cut 4 the same way to be able to mix and match. And in this plan that I'm using, the order I'm cutting is going to be the reverse order of the stitching. I'm taking those top 4 layer cakes that I cut, and what I'm doing is switching them so that a different color will appear on each block. So each block is going to have 4 different colors. I continued mixing and matching 4 at a time, and then I had a large stack at the end of this sorting ready to take to the sewing machine. And I'll be sewing piece 1 and 2 first, then I'll add on piece 3 and then piece 4 to complete the block. So I'm starting with my first block, and I'm taking that inner triangle and stitching it right sides together with the second piece. I moved my pressing mat and iron close by so I could press these as I went. Now I'm going to go ahead and add that third piece. It was too confusing to have that large stack, so I took 4 at a time so I didn't get mixed up. As I sew on piece 3, you're going to notice that the edge I'm sewing onto is a little bit off from the one below it. That's okay. This is not a true foundation piece pattern that has seam allowance built into it. So when we stitch 2 pieces together on an angle like this and then add a third and a fourth, these aren't all going to match up, but we are going to trim these blocks down later, so I am not worried about that at this point. And that is block 1 completed, except for trimming. I took advantage of chain piecing for these blocks as well. After I finished 4 blocks, I laid out 4 more blocks and chain pieced those as well. First piece 1 to piece 2, then I added on piece 3, and last I added on piece 4 to complete 4 more blocks. I ended up trimming these blocks to 8 3/4 inches. With my blocks all trimmed, I just put them in one stack. I did not sort them or lay them out. I just started sewing 2 blocks together. In my case, I'm using such a large variety of color. I don't think I'm going to have to worry about any colors being right next to each other. If you were using more limited colors, you may want to lay out your quilt first to make sure it's going to turn out the way you want it to. I continued sewing blocks together to make my rows of 6 blocks. Then I stitched my 6 rows together with each other. As I go along, I am nesting seams between blocks. This 6x6 layout, it's pretty small, so I didn't feel like I needed clips or pins. As your quilt gets heavier, you may want to use clips and pins to keep everything together. Things tend to shift around when they get a little bit bulky. Well, here is a look at this finished quilt top. It is so cute. It looks like a kaleidoscope that I used to have when I was a little kid. I'm very tempted to use more of those artisan batiks to make another one. I want to thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope to see you back again real soon.